me introduce myself. My name is Saktiansyah. I'm from 2001, class C. Alright, before I start discussing the poem that I chose earlier, I will read it first for you to hear. The poet called The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alright, he claps the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands. Ringed it with the azure world he stands, the wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. Well, this is the form of poetry that I convey. In my opinion, this is the shortest poem that I apply but has a strong meaning in it. The poem, The Eagle. The poem uses many examples of figurative language, all with the purpose of creating a majestic and commanding representation of an eagle. In this way, Tennyson saw how man needs to connect to his human soul through the appreciation and admiration of nature. This poem was first published in 1851 by author Alfred Lord Tennyson. When Tennyson was greatly affected by writers of the Romantic period in 1798 until 1837, and the crafted works that could fit with the genre. This era, the art of emerged as a response to national conflict, most notably the American Revolutionary War in 1775 until 1783, and the French Revolutionary War in 1792 until 1802. The philosophy of the era was so reimagined towards the world. It featured the new role of individual thought and personal feeling, emphasizing the subjective experience over the objective world. This was often showcased in one individual relationship with nature, beauty, and the supernatural realm. This left room for the artist to prioritize the imagination over objective reality. Artists of the Romantic era in general put emphasis on imagination over reality. The writer name Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson was the most renowned poet of the Victorian era. His works include In Memoriam, The Charge of the Light Brigade, and The Idylls of the King. Who was the Alfred Tennyson? He was born in England in 1909. Alfred Lord Tennyson began writing poetry as a boy. He was first published in 1827, but it was not until 1840s that his work received regular public acclaim. His In Memoriam in 1850, which contains the line, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," cemented his reputation. Tennyson was Queen Victoria's poet laureate from 1850 until his death in 1892. Early years and family. Tennyson was born in Somerby, Lincolnshire, England on August 6, 1809. He would be one of his family's 11 surviving children. His parents' firstborn died in infancy. Tennyson grew up with two older brothers, four younger brothers and four younger sisters. Tennyson's father was a contractor who earned a decent income, but the size of the family meant expense had to be closely watched. Therefore, Tennyson only attended Lord Grammar School, where he was bullied. For a few years, the rest of his pre-university education was overseen by his well-read father. Tennyson and his siblings were raised with a lovely book rating by the age of 8. Tennyson was penning his first poem. However, Tennyson's home wasn't a happy one. His father was an eldest son who had been deserted in favor of a younger brother, which encouraged resentment. Even worse, his father was alcoholic and drug user who at times physically threatened members of the family. In 1827, Tennyson had his first poetry published in poem by two brothers. Though actually three Tennyson brothers contributed to the volume. The same year, Tennyson began to study Trinity College at Cambridge, where his two older brothers were also students. It was a university that Tennyson met Arthur Hallam, who became a close friend, and joined a group of students who called themselves as Apostles. Tennyson also continued to write poetry, and in 1829 he won the Chancellor Gold Medal for the poem Timbuktu. In 1830, Tennyson published his first solo collection poems called Chiefly Lyrical. Tennyson's father died in 1831. His death means strange circumstance for the family, and Tennyson did not complete his degree. As a younger son, Tennyson was encouraged to find a possession, such as entering the church like his father. However, the young man was determined to focus on poetry. Struggles at poet. At the end, in 1832, though it was a date 1833, he published another volume of poetry poems by Alfred Tennyson. Each contained work that would become well known, such as The Lady Charlotte, but received unfavorable reviews. This greatly affected Tennyson, and he subsequently shied away from publication for a decade, though he continued to writing during that time. After leaving Cambridge, Tennyson had remained close to Arthur Hallam, who had fallen in love with Tennyson's sister Emily. When Hallam died suddenly in 1833, like from a stroke, it was a devastating loss for the poet and his family. Tennyson developed feelings for Rosa Baring in 1830s, but her wealth put her out his league. The poem Locksley Hall shared his take on the situation. Every door is barred with gold and opens but golden keys. In 1836, Tennyson fell in love with Emily Selwood, sister to his brother Charles' wife. The two were soon engaged. However, due to concern about his finance and his health, there was a history of epilepsy in the Tennyson family, and the poet worried had the disease. Tennyson ended the engagement in 1840. Tennyson finally published more poetry in the two-volume poems. In 1842, highlights include a revised The Lady of Shalott and the Locksley Hall, Morte d'Arthur and Ulysses, which ends with the well-known line, to strive, to stick, to find, and not to yield. This work was positively reviewed. Unfortunately, in 1842, Tennyson lost most his money after investing in an unsuccessful wood-carving venture. Tennyson would recover some of the funds in 1845, thanks to an insurance policy of friends had taken out for him. Poetic success. The Prince in 1847, a long narrative poem, was Tennyson's next notable work, but he hit a career high note with In Memoriam 1850, the elegiacal creation which contains the famous lines, "'Tis better to have loved and lost, or than never to have loved at all." Incorporate Tennyson's sorrows about his friend Arthur Hallam's death. It greatly impressed readers and won Tennyson many admirers. In addition to addressing his feeling about losing Hallam, In Memoriam also speaks to the uncertainty that many of Tennyson's contemporaries were grappling with. At the line, geologists had shown the planet was much older than states in the Bible. The existence of fossils also contradict the story of creation. Having read books such as Charles Lyell's Principles of Geology in 1830 until 33, Tennyson was well aware of this development. Tennyson, who had learned he did not epilepsy and was feeling more financially secure, had reconnected with Emily Selwood. It was she who suggested the title In Memoriam. The two were married in June 1850. Later that year, Queen Victoria selected Tennyson to succeed Sir William Wordsworth as England News Poet Laureate. Fame and fortune. Tennyson's poetry became more and more widely read, which gave him a both impressive income and ever-increasing level of fame. The poet sported a long beard and often dressed in a cloak and broad-brimmed hat, which made it easy for fans to spot him. And moved the Isle of Wight in 1853, offered Tennyson an escape from his growing crowds of admirers. But Tennyson wasn't cut off from society there. He would be welcome visitors such as Prince Albert, fellow poetry Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and Hawaii Queen Emma. There is no to make reply, or there is not to reason why, or there is but to do and die. From the Charge of the Light Brigades, 1854. An episode of Crimean War led to the Tennyson penning The Chant of the Light Brigade in 1854. That work was also included in Maud in other poems in 1855. The first four books of Tennyson's Idylls of the Kings, an epic take on the Arthurian legend, appeared in 1859. In 1864, Enoch Arden or other poems sold 17,000 copies on its first day of publication. Who are wise in love most Silas from Idylls of the Kings, 1859. The Tennyson became friendly with Queen Victoria, who found comfort in reading. In memoriam, following the death of her husband Prince Albert in 1861, he also continued to experience the downside of fame. As the Isle of Wight became a more popular destination, people would sometimes peer through the windows of his home. In 1867, he bought a land in Surrey, where he would build another home, Aldworth, that offered more privacy. Later years, in 1874, Tennyson branched out of the poetic drama, starting with Queen Mary, 1875. Some of his dramas would be successfully performed, but they never matched the impact of his poem. Though he had turned down earlier offers of baronetcy, in 1883, Tennyson accepted the offer of peerage, a higher ranker than baronet. He thus became Baron Tennyson of Aldworth and Freshwater, better known as Alfred Lord Tennyson. Tennyson and his wife had two sons, Hallam and Lionel. Lionel predeceased his parents. He became ill on a visit to India and died in 1886 on board a ship heading back to England. Tennyson's Demeter and other poems in 1889 contain work that address this devastating loss, death, and legacy. The poet suffered from gout and experienced a reduced that grew worse in late summer of 1892. Later that year, on October 6, at the age of 83, Tennyson passed away at his Aldworth home in Surrey. He was buried at Wemstey Abbey, Port's Corner. Tennyson was the leading poet of the Victorian age. As that era ended, his reputation began to fade, though he will likely never again be as acclaimed as he was during his lifetime today. Tennyson is one more recognized as a gifted poet who delved into internal human questions and who offered both solace and inspiration to his audience. The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson analyzed. This poem is a celebration of nature's majesty. In clear, unadorned language, the author provides the reader with a rich study of the nobility and strength of the eagle, both serving as a primary themes of the poem. Note the way Tennyson portrays the creature of the eagle as having dominance over his environment. He places him usually close to the sun, a place of the prominence over lonely lands. He exists the unrivaled by man, beast, earth, or water. The sea includes in a unusual part of in his poem. The sea is usually portrayed as something grand, mysterious, and powerful. However, in this poem, it is something that crawls and has wrinkles. This serves of heighten the eagle more in his dominance and mobility. In contrast, the eagle is situated in mountain walls, unaffected by powerful water. When he does move, he doesn't crawl like the sea, but like a thunderbolt with strength and purpose. The poets metaphorically use the powerful bird, eagle, and its surrounding to convey the power flow and the nature of power. His description evokes the imaginative eye of the reader to picture cinematic scenery where eagle region. It has made easy for the reader to contrast what actually lie beneath the lines. Summary of the eagle poem rhythm is A-A-A-B-B-B. Stanza 1 in line 1. Meanings he, an eagle, grips a rock with his claws. Stanza 1 in line 2 is high from the ground in an area unpopulated by other creatures. Stanza 1 line 3 the eagle is surrounded by the sea and sky. Alone he stands on the mountain rock wall. This piece begins with a description of the creature only labeled with the pronoun he. The speaker is assuming that a reader will understand who he and if one reads the title of the poem, it's clear Tennyson speakers is describing an eagle who is at the moment the poem starts on a crag, meaning a rugged, exposed cliff face. The Eagle by Arthur Tennyson is short to two stanza, poem that speaks power solitude of lonely eagle on rocky cliff. The poem begins with a speaker describing how a solitary eagle is standing on the top of craggy cliff, from where he is perched with his crooked hands gripping the rocks. He can survive the wall as the world around and below him. Tennyson Eagle is a real place of power, and as soon as he read to, and not a moment sooner, he dives in the final lines. He makes his surprise move, barreling down towards water in search of prey. Structure: The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson is a two-stanza poem spread in out two sets 3 lines as non-track. These tracks follow a very simple rhyme scheme by conforms to a pattern AAA-BBB. The poems also make use of the metrical pattern of iambic tetrameter. This means that each line contains 4 sets of 2 beats, known as metrical beats or iambic. The first is unstressed and the second stressed. It sounds something like a doom da doom. Poetic technique. Tennyson used a number of poetic techniques with the eagle. These include alliteration, caesura, and personification. The latter is perhaps the easiest to spot. It occurs with a poet imbue of a non-human creature or object with human characteristics. In this case, the eagle described as having hands also referred as he rather than it, therefore increasing its agency and individuality. Another technique, alliteration, occurs when words are used in succession or lists appear close together and begin with the same letter. A great example is in the first stanza with the use and reuse of the letter C. Caesura is not another interesting technique that involves splitting of a line of verse implies that line of the stanza with the comma falling with word is an example. Analysis of the eagle stanza 1. He claps the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed it with the azure world he stands. This piece begins with a description of a creature only labeled with a pronoun he, the speaker assuming the readers will understand who this is he, and if one reads the title of the poem is clear, Tennyson's speaker describing as an eagle is the moment poets start up on a crag meaning rugged exposed cliff face. This somewhere human beings could not or would have trouble reaching. There is something transcendent about his opening scene. It's beyond that which humanity can experience except through the word of writers such as Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson also makes use of alliteration in this first line in order to increase the rhythm of the phrase. Additionally, through personification, Tennyson imbues the eagle with human-like features. He refers its claws as a hands and the whole eagle as he rather than it. The simplicity of the rhythm of the rhyme lines carries poem is contrast the dramatic image Tennyson has crafted. This only expands as he discusses the lonely lands that stretch out underneath the crag. This implies the feeling loneliness and isolation, as well as the fact that no human being can touch the place. Tennyson expands the landscape further, as he described the ring of blue sky that wraps around the world. The eagle stands as if lording over the hands below him. He represents a clear image of power and knowledge, as well as the traditional meanings associated with eagles' freedom and bravery. Stanza 2, line 1, Ocean. Meanings: ocean is far below from where the eagle rests on the rock face. In stanza 2, line 2, the eagle observes his surrounding from his position on the mountain wall. Stanza 2, line 3, the eagle leaves his perch diving down towards the ground or sea, presumably to hunt. In the second stanza, the speaker gives the reader a few more details about the eagle's surrounding. The rocky cliff on which creature is perched is already made clear very steep. Tennyson adds that it's also jutting out over the sea. The eagle is so high up, the sea appears to convert wrinkles. They represent the various shapes of the waves and make one considers how age and time play into this description. The eagle by Alfred Tennyson is short to stanza poem that speaks on the powers of solitude and lonely eagle on rocky cliff. In the second stanza, the speaker gives the reader a few more details about the eagle surrounding the rocky cliff on which the creature is perched is as already made clear a very step. Tennyson adds that he is also jutting out over the sea. The eagle is so high up, the sea appears to be converted in wrinkles. They represent the various shapes of the waves and make one consider how age and time play into this description. In the next line, the eagle possession of power on the rocks implies he is everything else and is able to watch what's going on below and around him. A reader should also take a note of how Tennyson called the mountain was eagle was as if they belong to him. He has a claim over this piece of land, and because he is only creature capable of reaching it, there is no one to challenge him. The transition from the second line to the third is powerful. All of a sudden, eagle drops from his perch, flying towards the sea below. The intentional dive was pre-planned on the eagle part, certainly, but the reader it comes as something of a shock. He is hunting a small creature below him and cannot when the precise moment would be for him to dive for it. In the final line, Tennyson described the eagle as a thunderbird. Again, the speaker, to his goal, like power in this word, and might even inspire a direct comparison to the god Zeus. It hurt it too. Whatever befall, I felt it when I saw most. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Alfred Lord Tennyson quote. Alright, that's all from me. Thank you for watching and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.